The housing market is shifting in Santa Clara County. And if you've been thinking about moving up, buying, or selling a house, then you need to hear this. The decisions you make right now could set you up for success or leave you stuck on the sidelines. Let's break it down. I'm Lolo Fisher with Metis Real Estate, your Silicon Valley realtor, and today we are here to talk about our market updates for March 2025 specific to Santa Clara County and the Silicon Valley. So we're going to go over some of those quick stats and trends that we always have questions about so that you actually can answer what's going on in the market. We're going to go over some of those top newsworthy highlights in terms of how the residential market is being affected by everything else going on in the Silicon Valley. And of course, we'll finish with those big questions that you need to be asking yourself right now if you are considering buying or selling. So let's hop right into it. How's the market right now, Lolo? I'm so glad you asked. Okay, all jokes aside though, we are still in the Bay Area, and in our county, the residential market is still competitive. But trends are shifting, and that's what I want to highlight for you today. Inventory is still low compared to the historical averages, but buyer demand has been fluctuating. Based on what's being communicated by our buyers, a lot of this is based on rates and affordability, or at least what is perceived as the affordability of the homes in our county. Home values have remained strong. So for those that are considering selling, pricing strategy is going to be so key right now. For a couple of the listings we've done this month and in the past couple months, in the east side, for example, 95127 zip code, we are not the only homes that have been on the market, but our team, our clients' homes were the ones that sold the fastest and for the best prices compared to the listing price and compared to the value of the home. And there's reasons for that. That is much due to the pricing strategy and how we market and tell the home story so that the new buyers, now the new owners, but at the time, the potential buyers could really imagine and see themselves there and decide on if it was a match for them and their dream lifestyle for the home that they want. It's not necessarily just about selling property. It's really important that we track the numbers, of course, to sell property as an asset and make sure we understand it as an asset. But a lot of the home buying and selling process is also emotional, and it relates to people. And if people can see their home, their families, their lives and memories in that place, so how we tell the story of that place and then how we strategically price that place, that story, that home, those future memories is key and so important. And I can tell you so many more stories more specifically about those homes we sold, but that might be for another video. Getting back to this list, buyers, another thing that we're hearing, some of you are waiting for rates to drop. But my question to you would be, is waiting really the right move? I'm going to create a whole separate video on that because there's been a lot of folks asking me this question. I'm waiting for the rates to drop. The rates are too high, but how do I know if the rates are going to drop? If these are all unknowns, what am I missing out on by not waiting for the rates to drop? How do I stay prepared? What I'm going to tell you right now is stay prepared always, because whether that rate today or the rate tomorrow is a perfect fit for you, you want to be ready to take action and buy that home that's calling to you or that you see, that you imagine raising your family in. At the drop of a dime, we want to be able to put in an offer, and being prepared is key. So that's my number one tip for you today. And I'm going to create a whole separate video on, is waiting for those rates to drop the right move? So we'll follow up on that one soon. Let's get into some key market trends and some newsworthy topics that I've been hearing about. This is kind of some of the biggest stories that we're seeing impact real estate market news, things like that you might see in the headlines, but that aren't always actually discussed or provided with multiple perspectives. So let's throw it out there. Topic number one, the down payment dilemma. I like calling it this because there's this big conversation around buyers getting priced out. Now this one, this article I'm pulling up in particular is from the SF Chronicle, and they've had a report that found a 20% down payment on a median priced San Francisco home is now $370,000, $370K. That's a big barrier for many buyers who were planning on saving anywhere from $100 to $200K as the down payment for their home. Not everybody needs or plans to put 20% down payment on a home. This is more in our conventional loan process that we talk about. A lot of the big bank lenders, of course, that 20% is more typical in a conversation that we talk about, but there are options for less than that 20% down payment. But getting back to the article, because that's beside my point. What does this mean for buyers in Santa Clara County? It's actually an opportunity to rethink financing and creative loan options. And that's what I mean. You don't always have to put 20% down on a home. That is a myth. The way it affects it is through PMI, right? So your private mortgage insurance is oftentimes based on how much you put down on the home at the start, because you're still gonna pay it off in one way or another through your mortgage payments later on. So buyers, what does this mean you should focus on based on this article, right? You can read the whole article for more details, but in the question of being priced out, you should focus on affordability overall, not just the down payment. How much can you afford to pay per month, and how much can you afford to pay now? When you balance all of that out and even consider career projections, because most likely for many of the folks I work with and know, in those after the first year to 2 years of purchasing a home, a lot of times you end up having that career path where you get promoted, you end up making more, your salary goes higher, and then those mortgage payments actually feel better because you're locked into a particular rate and amount that you're expected to pay per month. This doesn't necessarily count for my ARM folks, so if you got an adjustable rate mortgage, that's a little different. But for my folks who are locked into a 15 or 13-year mortgage rate, that's what that looks like. So consider affordability overall. And just remember, the myth that you need 20% to buy is stopping far too many people from entering the market. There are other ways, other routes, other options, and creative financing is key, and working with lenders who really understand your financial situation and your goal so that they can get you to where you need to be. And if you need a lender, we got amazing partners that we work with. And based on your situation, we can match you with a great one. So let me know. I want to get to the next topic. Yes, this one. Okay, so this is from a Mercury News article I found on a development in Campbell. So I want to talk about the commercial market and its ripple effect on housing, on the residential market. So in past videos of our market updates videos, I've talked to you about different spaces like Santana Row, for example, having multiple corporate spaces, commercial spaces being leased, or talks of really big companies entering into these spaces, which could affect the residential market, who ends up moving to those spaces, and of course the pricing on that whole entire area, because people want short commutes typically. In this one, new office space is still being developed despite the remote work trends, and this is what I want to highlight. There's a lot more return to office. You hear RTO a whole lot, right? A lot more RTO demands, return to office demands, whether it's 3 days a week or now full-time being back in office. That is not just affecting commercial spaces in terms of the ones that already exist being used more, and then people needing to move closer to that so that they have a shorter commute to work now that they're no longer working remote as much or at all for some people. But it's also affecting commercial spaces being leased in the first place. For example, North San Jose, if you've ever heard of Expansive at First, there's a co-working space here that I enjoy working from, and it's really just the 4th floor of a larger commercial office building. Now each floor, while at the start, you know, these were like vacant floors, they're getting booked up. The suites, the entire floors, they're getting sold by huge companies, or I should say they're getting leased by huge companies that I already assumed, I'm not gonna lie, I assumed they had other spaces elsewhere, and that if they expanded, that they'd want entire buildings, but they're taking spaces within existing commercial buildings, which is increasing, right, a lot of the spaces here in the Bay Area in terms of usage, population, how people are flowing through, and that does end up impacting our residential market. So why does this matter to a homeowner? More commercial development, at the end of the day, increases the home values nearby. That's the point here. If people are expected to be in a commercial space on a regular basis, most likely they're going to want to be close to that space for their daily life, their everyday life, before and after they're in that commercial space, right? So think new jobs, higher demand. Now, why this matters for buyers, whether you're an existing homeowner and you're considering moving, or you're a first-time buyer, first-time home buyer, it's really important to also look at the commercial spaces around you. If there's dilapidated commercial spaces, if there's no commercial spaces, there is a dependence on, of course, what you want. If you want to be in a completely suburban environment, an urban environment, all of that happens in our conversation, our consultations, of course. But in general, just talking about home values and equity, if you are in the buying process or considering buying near a new development, it could be a very smart long-term investment decision because home values go up once that RTO, that return to office or use of those commercial spaces, go up as well. So with that, let's jump to my third and final highlight topic for this market updates video. Statistics show that rents in San Jose are dropping. So with the presentation of this statistic, there's the conversation of, should you wait to buy? According to an article from the Biz Journals, rent in San Jose for the third straight month has decreased. Now, when we're looking at this statistic, for anybody that's currently renting, the common question is like, well, should I actually go for home ownership right now, or should I just keep renting then? What's smarter financially? And that really depends on if you're looking at short-term or long-term. Home ownership is really a privilege for if you have those funds readily available, and it's something that you can work to if in the short term, if in the immediate now, you're not quite ready. So renting might be smart for you, but it would be ill of me if I didn't tell you that long term, the equity growth still favors home ownership. In the long run, that home ownership is going to pay off far more than if you continue renting right now. So it's a both and. You need to be informed. You need to have these numbers in front of you so you can make the decision that's best for you and your family. Now, homeowners, there's a question that comes up for you as well. Could renting out your current home instead of selling be a smart move? Now, these are considerations that I would say it very much depends on the location of your home and what's happening in terms of market trends, specifically in your neighborhood. Because we can look at Santa Clara County, we can look at San Jose or Santa Clara or Campbell, wherever you're located. But we need to look specifically at the neighborhood, because neighborhood trends, even 95127, for example, since I brought them up earlier, the homes that we've listed and sold there recently, vastly different from one neighborhood on the lower end of the hill to the neighborhood on the top of the hill to the neighborhood still in the same zip code but completely on the other side of that zip code, closer to like freeway construction, things like that. All of those are having different effects in terms of what's going on with renting and selling and where they're seeing success. So it depends on your home, but this is a statistic that's worth considering, and there is a possibility that renting out your home pays more in the now, or even long term, just depending on how far out you're looking in terms of the equity value of your asset, than selling your home. But not always. It's not always the most favorable. So let's run the numbers and figure out what's actually best for your home and what's going on in the market around it. Those trends are going to be key. So let's finish this up with what you need to be asking yourself right now. Okay? Sellers. Big question, is now the time to move up? Is it the time to sell and reinvest those funds into a new home, a different home, an investment property, or something else that is going to continue building your wealth? If you own a home and have equity, this may be your chance to get into your dream home before that competition heats up, as we see happen in the spring and summer seasons. Now, I want you to consider your next home first. Before you think about whether it's time to sell your current home, think about that next home. Where do you want to live next? What actual changes, improvements, differences would you want to see in that next home that you live in? And then come back to this question, ask yourself if it's time to move up to move down, to downsize, to sell your home, to upgrade, whatever that question is. Is it time to sell and move into a new home? That comes after you imagine that next home and come up with those details. Because once you know where you're going next, we can run the numbers and create a plan to help you get there and help you decide from both the emotion side and the logic side if this is the right time. Buyers, what's holding you back? That's my question for you today that I think you should ask yourself. What is holding you back? If it is rates, numbers, finances, this is the time to create your action plan. You're not going to meet your next goal or your dreams without creating a plan and just getting the resources and tools you need to help you get there, because you're not doing it alone. That's why I'm here. That's why we have a team of lenders and different partners that can help you create your plan. For example, if you wanted to get a complete fixer-upper, we not only have lenders who can help talk to you about the options for getting that fixer-upper in terms of financing and creative financing if needed, but we also work with amazing general contractors, designers, folks who can help you make that house really a home and build that dream that you have in mind. So we talked about this, but if you're waiting for interest rates to drop, well, what if home prices rise while you're waiting for those interest rates to drop? Not always the best decision. And do you know all your loan options? That's the other piece of it. So whatever is holding you back, let me know, because it's valid and I can probably verify that there's good reasons that it's holding you back, but it doesn't mean there's not amazing and fantastic solutions to meet those obstacles and knock them down. So you let me know. I don't want you missing out because you don't know all the information, because you don't know your resources, or just because of all the hearsay that's going around, because there is always hearsay about the market, especially the residential market. Bottom line, this market is shifting, and smart buyers and sellers are making strategic moves right now. If you're considering a change, let's have a conversation and make the move and the plan that works for you. Call me, email me, DM me, or comment below if you have questions. I am here for you, and I and my Metis team is always so happy to support you however we can. We truly are honored, and I don't say that lightly. We are truly honored to serve as your trusted real estate advisors and to provide you market analysis, trend analysis, and help you make the decisions that best fit you and your family when it comes to your real estate decisions. So all my contact information is in the description below. I will be providing another market updates very soon as we move into April. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'm excited to see you next time. Bye.